I had just lost my job at McDonald's due to a massive flood, taking out a lot of businesses in my area, and I had a girlfriend that lived 30 minutes away, and I needed gas money, so I took a job offered to me by a family friend at a 24/7 gas station in the next town over from mine. The shift that I was hired for was 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., and I had never worked a night shift in my life, but I thought it would be pretty cool to have a little to no pressure other than to make sure the coffee was ready at 4 a.m. for the morning regulars. I was required to train on the day shift for the first couple of weeks to get accustomed to the operations. Throughout those weeks, I learned many of the ins and outs of what takes place on night shift, and I also learned the ins and outs of the people that hung around the place for hours, and there were quite a few. One woman in particular, Melinda, would come in every morning before and after dropping her kids at school, around lunchtime, sometimes actually buying us lunch, and in the evenings when her husband was home. She came for hours considering she lived a couple of streets over. She was nice and I started to enjoy her visits, and we all got along so well in the store. It was a fun atmosphere for the most part. So it finally comes the time for me to work the night shift, and I had my manager with me for a few nights. I was taking her place on night shift because she couldn't do it anymore. She was nice, and I admit that I had a pretty big crush on her, so I don't mind spending the time with her at night at all. And I learned that when she worked the night shift, Melinda spent the entire night there. I had been working the night shift alone for a couple weeks, and some of those night shifts drug into the days when we were short-staffed, but again, I needed the money. Anyway, one night I was doing my chores, scrubbing the hot dog rollers, setting coffee filters up for the rush, and mopping the entire store. While emptying my mop bucket, I heard the chime of the door and looked at my watch and saw that it was 2 a.m., which was odd. There typically wasn't anybody coming into the store until 4 consistently, and I was a little bit upset because I had just mopped the floor. But I went out to see who it was, and just as I headed out, the movement in the mirror that was located overhead to stop shoplifters caught my eye. There was a man at the counter doing something with the money order machine, and upon looking again, he had a knife. He was cutting the wires for what reason I have no clue. While he was cutting, I heard him muttering, "Where's Bonka?" over and over again. I knew that I could walk back and get to the phone in the office, but I didn't want him to hear me, so I pulled my phone out and texted Melinda to call the cops, and tried to text quickly as much of what I could describe. She told me that she would be right down, and I was freaking out with every second that passed by. Before she could get there, the man went outside to the gas pumps and threw all of the trash cans and started to try and cut through the gas lines. I took this opportunity to lock the front door in case he tried to get back in, and thank God I did because he immediately made a beeline for the door and slammed his fist into it. Just as he did, the cops and Melinda showed up and he was put into the cop car, while I explained everything that had just happened. Turns out Bonka was the name he called my manager, whose name was Bianca. He had become obsessed with her in the weeks prior, dropping in nightly and making her very uncomfortable, which explains why she couldn't take it anymore. They knowingly threw a timid 19-year-old into this mess, and seeing me there instead of her was what turned his obsession into rage. I didn't stay there for much longer after that, and I'm just happy that nothing physical truly happened. I, female, was 25 at the time. This was 2018, and I lived with my boyfriend in our hometown. It's a small city that's relatively poor and has some drug problems, and there's not that much to do. My boyfriend, now husband, was at his friend's house. It was a Saturday night, and he said that he would be home around 9. It was about 2 towns over, a 20-minute drive. At the time, we lived in a duplex, split upstairs and downstairs. It used to be a big house that was converted into a duplex. My cousin actually rented the downstairs apartment, and she was kind of loud. I knew when she was and wasn't home. She wasn't home this night. The way that our street is situated, the backs of the houses on my street and the parallel street, they all faced a narrow alley and the driveways were mostly only accessible this way. The downstairs unit had a front porch with a door and a side door. Our upstairs unit had the back door and it was at the top of an outside set of wooden stairs. So anyway, I'm watching TV alone. I hear somebody coming up the stairs and knock on the door. It's about 8:30. It wouldn't be that unusual for my boyfriend to be home early. Maybe they got bored playing video games or he just felt like leaving. I usually would unlock the door for him when he came home instead of him using his keys because it was dark and it could be a hassle. So I got up and opened the door to somebody who was not my boyfriend. It was a thin man wearing 2 big jeans and hoodie. He had about 4 teeth and was teetering back and forth. I was so shocked considering that I was positive it was my boyfriend coming home. The guy at the door asked me, "Can I use your phone?" Behind him, down the stairs and in the alley, I see a big SUV Ford Explorer type of vehicle just idling, with somebody in the driver's seat. I panic and just say, "Yeah, hold on." I then shut and locked the door. I think I was more shocked that it was a stranger at my door and not my boyfriend than anything else. I hide so that he cannot see me through the front door's window and am frozen. Something was just telling me that this was not okay. After a few minutes, I hear him start walking down the stairs. I go over to the door and see the car drive away down the alley. I call my boyfriend and tell him and he says that he'll leave, but like I said, it was a 20-minute drive. He was about to leave anyway. After he got home, I calmed down and honestly felt silly. Why not just lend him my phone? Was it really that weird? But then I thought about it more over the next few days. It was 2018. This guy and whoever was driving between the two of them, neither of them had a phone. And it wasn't like they were having car trouble. What would they want a stranger's phone for? They also went down an alley into the backside of a house, up some stairs to ask for a phone. They didn't go to my cousin's front door downstairs. I would have heard somebody on the porch. They didn't go to any other house. I saw them leave the street entirely. Also, why go to a house to ask for a phone when there was no car in the driveway? And of course, our battery-powered security camera, it was dead at the time. I genuinely am not sure what they wanted. If anybody has any idea or thinks that I'm just overthinking it, let me know. But God, I hope I never see that creepy guy again. This happened when I was about 14 or 15. I'm 18 now. And for a little bit of context, I hated anybody touching my hair. And my mom would sometimes touch my hair and talk about how much she loved it because it was curly and thick. I would always be like, "You, Mom, don't do that," and it was like a mutual understanding that I disliked when people would touch my hair, even if they were family. So we're in Dollar Tree buying some snacks and stuff, standing in the checkout line, and I'm behind my mom just zoning out. And I feel somebody behind me toss my hair up and just start touching it, and was like, "I love your hair." Yeah, really creepy. Actually just came behind me and started touching my hair with no warning and complimenting me. Like talking about how it was so thick and pretty. And like, "Thank you, but Jesus Christ, come on." My mom kind of brushed it off and was like, "Yeah, I know you don't like when people touch your hair, but I was mortified." Thankfully, this hasn't happened since then. But don't sneak up on a teenage girl and touch their hair with no warning. It's freaky. And plus, to make it even more weird, I realized that at the time my hair was very damaged because I was bleaching it a lot. It was not pretty or well taken care of. So I don't know why that guy touched my hair anyway.